The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is November 28th, 2018, and this week, Rats, Robots, Rumble. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. This is the podcast where we bring you other news with Canary Cry views. And we're live for the first time.
We're live. We're live on the Discord. We've got a couple people in there. Thank you, Amikia and Tyler and Jen, and anybody else who pops in. We kind of just sprung it on everybody. So if you're in the Discord channel, you did a very good job responding to very short notice. We're just testing it out, and we're very thankful you're here. We'll see how this works out. It'll either be incredibly rewarding or incredibly distracting.
It might be very messy.
Yeah, but if you guys are interested in getting in on the Discord channel and being online for the live stream, you can go ahead and head over to patreon.com/ccnt. One of those reward levels gives you access to this Discord channel. We got all sorts of Canarians in there. And now we'll be recording live stream. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
Gonz,
good to know.
Are you in on the live stream? Are you listening live?
I am live, so
cool.
I'm breathing. That's good.
That is good.
Alive.
That is good. So let's jump right into it. We've got quite a list for today. So yeah, we're going to try to make it through this. And remember, we've also got the extended reports that come out for our Patreon supporters, which is a second episode of Canary Cry News Talk every week, where this week we'll be talking about the Ruskies fact-checking the American moon landing. The scientists are planning on giving the Earth its own coat of sunscreen, and Facebook gun control, and maybe some opinions I have about that some people might not agree with. So you can head to patreon.com/ccnt if you want to get in on that. But before that, Gonz, are you ready to talk about some robots?
Always robots. Because,
okay.
Yeah.
So in lieu of a Flippy update, I had kind of an existential moment this morning when we were getting ready, because we don't have a Flippy update. And I thought about counting this as a Flippy update because it has to do with robots doing stuff. But I think I'm going to keep the Flippy updates. Flippy, as everybody knows, is my very good robot friend. Started as an arm. I don't even know how he started. Oh, flipping burgers.
Flipping burgers.
Right.
That's why he's called Flippy.
Yep. And then people have been revamping Flippy to achieve all sorts of tasks. Last week, we talked about Flippy strapping Flippy to your chest and using your emotions to either feed yourself or feed your friends. I'm calling the shot now that Flippy is specifically a robot arm. He is not all robots.
This is according to Basil, because a lot of these stories we talk about, we are arbitrarily using the title Flippy. It's not, they're not using it. We're calling it Flippy because we knew the OG Flippy.
Yeah,
and
OG
everybody
Flippy
else is a spin-off, although I'm sure that Flippy wasn't the original robot
flipping
arm.
I'm laying it down now. The Flippy is specifically robot arm made to do things. I'm sure we've broken that rule in the past, but from henceforth, but this isn't about Flippy, but it is a robot update. This is an article from spectrumnews.org. Robot rat meets real rat and science happens. I love this. Cool. Millennials have started doing the science writing, with their new weird speak. I don't know if it's words. I don't know if it's supposed to be like cute or something, but and science happens is a very sort of millennial way to speak. Anyways, an autonomous robot rat may offer novel insights into the social responses of its warm-blooded counterparts. Researchers presented the unpublished work today at the 2008 Society for Neuroscience annual
2018.
Meeting. What did I say?
2008.
Oh, yeah. I'm a time traveler, Gonz.
I forget. I'm just trying to keep your cover going,
Thank you.
It slips out sometimes.
I appreciate that. Annual meeting in San Diego, California. The research team previously created a robotic rat with manual controls. The new model, which looks like a large computer mouse, is programmed to respond automatically to the behaviors of a real rat when it is placed near one. It allows scientists to control social stimuli better than they can with a real rat. Quote, when you think about our advantages a robot might have over a real rat, you could pick and choose from some of your social cues and look how a rat responds to some of those social cues, says Scott Heath, a man talented at saying a lot of words, but having very little meaning. He's also a postdoctorate fellow at Janet Wiles' lab at the University of Queensland in Australia, who presented the work. The robot contains a battery, very important part of the article. The robot contains a battery, motor, miniature computer, which sit inside a 3D printed shell. Its top speed is about 3.2 feet per second. Then it goes into some more like tech specs about the little robot. It's controlled. The robot has a limited number of basic behaviors. So far, it can only move toward or away from a live rat, but Heath's team is working to develop more precise responses to rat movements. In a pilot study of 10 rats, the researchers found that the animals seemed to accept their unusual-looking cage mate. Instead of leaving it out of the fun, they readily interacted with it. Heath and his colleagues are collaborating with neuroscientists at the University of California, San Diego to perform the robot with specific responses.
Program the robot.
What did I say?
Perform.
Okay. You interrupt me one more time. I swear. To program the robot with specific, I was just thinking like, oh man, this is a really good cold read. I'm killing this.
I killed your eye.
Yeah. To program the robot with specific responses so researchers can use it to study more complex social behaviors. Autism researchers could study rat models of autism as they interact with the robot. The team is also training real rats to release one of the robot rats from a cage, training it to rescue his little friend. Will the rats help a robot that previously freed it? Oh no, my phone. Oh, amateur move.
Yeah, that's bad.
Freed it more readily than one that did nothing when it was stuck in a cage. Stay tuned for the results. So what they got is a little robot rat friend that is training to be friends with real rats. And I find this fascinating because there's a lot of conversation going on about, human robot interactions. And someday we hope that we can have a robot best friend, but we can't test robot friendship on humans, Gons.
Well, they already have in Japan, but
too
otherwise
dangerous. Yeah, well, the laws are a lot more lax over there.
They let people marry holograms.
Yeah, exactly. So this story I didn't want to have stand on its own, but I want to set this story next to this next story. We just had robot friends, and now here's an article from Slate.com. Even rodents get the blues if robots bully them, that is. One of the two rats in this picture isn't really a rat. One of the two rats in this picture is, in fact, a robot. Look closely, and you can just barely figure it out. Meanwhile, the rat that isn't a robot is seriously depressed because that's what this robot specializes in, rat depression. I should hope that you're wondering right now just why the heck someone would design a robot that exists only to instill depression in rats, since that seems kind of terrifying, to be honest. Fortunately, there's a simple answer. We need depressed rats to be able to test drugs that treat depression. Before trying drugs out on humans, they get tested on animals. And if you think you've got a drug that can safely make depressed people less depressed, it first needs to be able to safely make depressed rats less depressed. And that requires a bunch of depressed rats.
This sounds like what the elite are doing to human society.
That's what I'm saying. You're catching on, and our more clever listeners are going to be catching on too. There are already some accepted ways to make a normal rat into a depressed rat. For example, you can force it to swim for long periods, or you can put it in a box and give it electric shocks. Do these things often enough, and you'll be left with one seriously unhappy rat. However, the problem with these methods is that humans don't usually experience depression like this. With some exceptions, that nobody likes to talk about, prolonged swimming and shocks aren't the cause of most depression in humans. And researchers at Waseda University in Tokyo are trying to come up with a more accurate model by causing depression in rats with other robotic rats. This robot, called WR3, is basically an attack robot. It has 3 modes, or quote, behavioral generation algorithms, which include chasing, continuous attacking, and interactive attacking. Chasing means that WR3 will attempt to maintain a minimum distance from the rat, but not actually attack it. Just kind of like one of those guys who just gets in your face and follows you around. It's very depressing, apparently. Continuous attacking is, well, continuous attacking with aggressive body motions and physical contact. Interactive attacking only attacks the rat whenever it moves at a set distance, which to me is the most sinister mode of all. Experiments on different groups of rats of different ages showed that the most effective means of instilling depression, measured by overall listlessness, was to constantly harass young rats and then intermittently harass them again when they get older. And that doing this is likely a better overall model for depression than other methods. So that's good news for drug testing and bad news for lab rats. On a personal note, well, he just talks about how he owns a rat and
feels sorry for rats, and he feels sorry that they have to use robots like this for rats.
Well, I feel sorry for him too, because there a couple of things were sort of highlighted in this story, which is the cause for depression really was prolonged harassment, and I think that's a good picture into human depression as well. I mean, you think about people who are depressed or experience depression. A lot of that stuff kind of originates in childhood. And yeah, I mean, if you're a parent who's constantly pestering your child or harassing them, or your kid's getting harassed at school or something, prolonged harassment, what this shows me is, it's going to lead to issues later on in life. But you put these 2 articles next to each other and bam, you've got a full-scale scientific community testing out how robots can control humanity, either by bullying or befriending them and tricking them into helping them escape from cages.
Well, it's interesting because the first story you read was a recent one. The story about the bully robot rodent is from 2013. So it's quite an old article.
True that. Yeah. But, I needed another article to go next to my friendly rats.
Yeah, you needed to compare and contrast.
Well, and that just shows that this has been going on for a while. We talk a lot about the relationship between humans and robots, and, we kind of land on like, it's an evolving relationship, and, nobody knows how it will turn out in the end. Will we be friends or will we be enemies? And the fact of the matter is, however these robots are programmed can have drastic effects on the mental health of the population interacting with them. I mean, you get Siri making enough snide remarks, that's going to make some long-term effects on your mental health.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
That's exactly right.
Yep. So this is a story from fiercebiotech.com. So this is some fierce biotech.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a brain-computer interface allows paralyzed patients to use off-the-shelf tablet. 3 patients with quadriplegia used a brain-computer interface, a BCI, to control a tablet device just by thinking about moving and clicking a cursor, a new study from the BrainGate Consortium reports. The researchers developed the system for use with an unmodified commercial tablet rather than with custom-built devices commonly used in BCI research. The hope is that one day such systems can build a bridge between conventional technology and people who are unable to use the current options. The study involved 2 patients with paralysis from, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, right?
Sclerosis. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, ALS. I know ALS. I just I've never really tried to pronounce the whole thing there. And one patient.
That's why they invented the acronyms.
Yeah.
Thanks, acronyms.
Yep. and one patient with a spinal cord injury. Each patient received 1 or 2, quote, baby aspirin-sized implants in the motor cortex of their brain. Each implant was an array of about 100 silicon microelectrodes measuring 4 by 4 millimeters. Signals from this implant were sent to a Bluetooth interface and configured to work like a wireless mouse. Quote, each electrode penetrates about 1.5 millimeters into the brain. It's just the outer layer where the brain cells that control movement on opposite sides of the body live, said Jamie Henderson, MD, a neurosurgeon at Stanford University Medical Center and a senior author on the paper. Quote, those probes end up very close to those neurons and essentially eavesdrop on those brain cells and allow us to listen to the firing patterns of those neurons. By eavesdropping on neurons' firing patterns, the researchers could figure out how changes in different neurons' firing rates correspond to different movements. They used this knowledge to build decoders to translate these signals into cursor movements on a screen. And so it kind of goes on here, but I mean, it's kind of technical, but this is very, they're doing all the work on their end so that they can interact with the technology that's going to come off the shelf. I mean,
straight up cyborg.
Yeah, right? That's it. And the more this kind of stuff becomes accepted and even probably praised in some regard if people are having fulfilled sorts of lives, I guess, in the modern sense of being able to interact with society, even though they have physical restraints. This is truly the internet age, information age come to fruition, according to the BrainGate people. But let me go on here. The most important part of the study, the researchers said, was that it used an unmodified device with any special accessibility software switched off. All BCI research, as far as I know, had been based on building very specific software that works in a specialized way with the computer that is doing the BCI decoding, Henderson said. What we're trying to do here is to decouple that and say we can decode these brain signals to get cursor movements, and once we've done that, we can use any device that uses cursor movements.
Yeah, what they're saying is we're trying to make a universal implant that we can bring to market that will work with any device on any phone on anything. I mean, as usual, they're claiming that, and look, I get it. The medical research is what funds the creation of these products.
Right.
So that's just how stuff gets made. So yeah, and it truly will help people with medical needs interact with phones and tablets and things like that. But I mean, this is really the most advanced thing we've seen come out, specifically because it doesn't take any special phone or special tablet. This is literally put it in your brain. The implant. Yeah, you show up to the doctor. It's an outpatient surgery. You get a little hole drilled in your skull, and he just places that in there, and suddenly you walk out of the hospital, and you can control any device
Bluetooth
hooked up to via Bluetooth with your brain. The first thing that comes to mind is like, man, we're all worried about having our phone, wireless signals moving through our heads and stuff like that. But now you've got a transmitter directly up against your brain. That cannot be healthy.
No. And that the other part of it, the other flip side angle, if we're going to look at the entire construct of, medicine in this regard, is sort of, it's always kind of, towing the line of ethics and stuff. But, we talked about the rats. We started the episode off talking about rats and experimenting on them. Uh-huh. This is, I don't know, man. There's a little bit of ethical concern. Although, you talk about free will, it's different with humans. If these people are willingly volunteering themselves, you know what I mean? But it still gives me an eerie feeling about how is it different?
Well, actually, Gons, we reported on a couple of years ago when they were first doing this testing with rats.
Yeah.
And so now we're doing the reporting that on their testing with humans. So
called it.
Nice. I'm so glad we got to use that jingle for that sound bite.
Do you want to hear the complete?
Do the whole one, yeah.
Okay, so here.
I knew it.
Called it.
That's my new favorite one. So yeah, there you go. And look, we talk about it all the time. It always starts with medical application, medical research, because that's how you get these things funded.
Yeah.
Now, takes a lot of money and a lot of time to get these things made that commercial investors and there's a lot of risk involved. So it's not really a commercial investment opportunity. But once you've created it for medical purposes, that's when you come out and make it commercially available. Kind of like pacemakers. It used to be just for medical purposes, and now anybody can go in willy-nilly and get a little box in their heart.
Yeah. Yep.
Just gonna let that one slide. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
That's right. We're still figuring out how this is going to be applicable, but I'll
make it happen. I'll make it work.
Okay, good. This one popped up on my phone today, actually. NationalGeographic.com. Yeah, we're getting legit
mainstream
here, folks. Yeah. Strange waves rippled around the world and nobody knows why. On the morning of November 11th, just before 9:30
11:11
UT, oh, very good. A mysterious rumble rolled around the world. The seismic waves began roughly 15 miles off the shore of Mayotte. Mayotte, a French island sandwiched between Africa and the northern tip of Madagascar. The waves buzzed across Africa, ringing sensors in Zambia, Kenya, and Ethiopia. They traversed vast oceans, humming across Chile, New Zealand, Canada, and even Hawaii, nearly 11,000 miles away.
A lot of 11.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good call. These waves didn't just zip by, they rang for more than 20 minutes, and yet it seems no human felt them.
Ooh.
By the way, 1111 at 11,000 miles away.
Yep.
Adds up to 33, baby.
Oh, there you go.
Only one person noticed the odd signal on the U.S. Geological Survey, blah, blah, blah. They talk about it was hard to notice, but they noticed it. I don't think I've seen anything like it, says Goran Ekstrom, a seismologist at Columbia University who specializes in unusual earthquakes. It doesn't mean that, in the end, the cause of them was that exotic, he notes. Yet many features of the waves are remarkably weird, from their surprising monotone low-frequency ring to their global spread, and researchers are still chasing down the geologic conundrum. Why are the low-frequency waves so weird? In a normal earthquake, the built-up tension in Earth's crust release with a jolt in mere seconds. This sends out a series of waves known as a wave train that radiates from the point of the rupture, explains Stephen Hicks, a seismologist at the University of Southampton. The fastest traveling signals are primary waves, or P waves, which are compression waves that move in bunches, like what happens to an extended slinky that suddenly gets pushed at one end. Next come the secondary waves, or S waves, which have more of a side-to-side motion. Both of these so-called body waves have relatively high frequencies, Hicks says, a sort of ping rather than a rumbling. Finally, chugging along at the end come slow, long-period surface waves, which are similar to the strange signals that rolled out from Mayotte. For intense earthquakes, these surface waves can zip around the planet multiple times, ringing Earth like a bell. However, there is no big earthquake kicking off the recent slow waves. Adding to the weirdness, Mayotte's mystery waves are what scientists call monochromatic. Those earthquakes send out waves with a slew of different frequencies, but Mayotte's signal was a clean zigzag dominated by one type of wave that took a steady 17 seconds to repeat. Quote, "It's like you have colored glasses and are just seeing red or something," says poet laureate Anthony Lomax, an independent seismology consultant. I did a little bit of editorializing there. Then it talks about how there's volcanoes around that area, and the island is moving, and so we don't know. It could have something to do with that. Could be an underwater volcano, but they're not sure because it doesn't sound like a volcano. There are no big earthquakes. Assembling a geological puzzle. Okay. Oh, by the way, through all that stuff I skipped, they're like, could be this, could be this, could be this, but we have no reason to think it's any of this. So what is actually causing the super slow vibrations in Mayotte? a submarine eruption would produce these low rumblings, but evidence for such an event has yet to materialize. Most current guesses revolve around resonance in magma chamber triggered by some type of subsurface shift or chamber collapse. The resonance itself can be any type of rhythmic motion like sloshing of molten rock or pressure wave ricocheting through magma body. Ekstrom explains, studying the intricate features of the seismic waves could yield clues in size and shape of molten material lurking below. So that's, let me skim. There was, they talk more about underwater stuff, but Gons, do you have any idea what, here are the interesting things, interesting points. Low rumbling, 17-second repeating pattern.
Yeah. And
it lasted for 20 minutes. Go.
Okay. So the part that really jumped out at me while you were reading was the part where they said that for intense earthquakes, these surface waves can zip around the planet multiple times, ringing like a bell.
What did that remind you of?
The bell of, there was something similar they did to the moon.
Yeah, they crashed a spacecraft into the moon, and they said it rang like a bell.
Yeah, and we were saying maybe the moon is hollow, and then so maybe this is the same thing, admitting that the Earth is at least hollow. Maybe there's something else, obviously.
Yeah, baby, my favorite prevailing theory, the hollow Earth.
The hollow Earth, right. So did they basically admit that it's hollow here? That I mean, they're talking about like caverns and chambers and, magma things going on down there. But here, the last... little section talks about the sea, the secrets of the sea. And says, for now, though, the lack of data makes it tough to say more about the wiggly forms. Hicks's preliminary models hinted that the waves emanated from subsurface and blah, blah, blah. It goes into like his little theory there.
Science,
yeah. But, here's how it connects to the beast system. Revelation 13, it talks about the beast that comes out of the sea, Basil. The entire thing comes out of the sea.
Oh no!
Yeah. So these low rumbles. I mean, who knows? Maybe the old Atlantis civilization rises and it's got its own kingdom, and there you go. You got all your horns and everything. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, here is an interesting part. It says, this is a quote: "They're too nice. They're too perfect to be nature." She jokes.
Oh, she jokes.
Yeah, she jokes. Although she quickly adds that an industrial source is impossible, since no wind farms or drilling are taking place in the deep waters of Mayotte shores. So since there's no wind farms or drilling, an industrial source is impossible, even though they're too perfect for nature. I guess.
Yeah, that's... Wow. Okay. There's just a lot of assumptions.
I'm telling you, man, there's a giant UFO coming out of the ocean. And
maybe a giant UFO.
They're lying to us.
Or the Titans are awakening, or something's going on.
Right. Well, Gons, I'll give you about 30 seconds to give me one of your updates here.
Let's see. Well, I don't have I have a Nephilim update, although it's not. Well, let's do the Nephilim update then.
Okay.
How much time do we got left? Not much. Okay.
20 seconds.
Nephilim update. The Nephilim update is not a specific story. It's just to mention that Darksiders 3, the thing we talked about last week, they've basically taken over the word Nephilim in the searches. So all over the place, people playing Darksiders 3, they're being exposed to the idea of the Nephilim without probably even knowing that it is something that comes out of the Bible, Genesis 6.
That's right. Video game industry is getting taken over by Nephilim talk. And I think that's more material for us to hit on our Twitch channel, Gons. Hey, I've said it before on different shows, but as a personal favor for everybody out there, if you go to twitch.tv, find the Canary Cry radio channel and follow it, I would consider it an important and personal favor to me because we're starting a new project over there. You're going to love it. But hey, we're going to continue on and do an extended report right after this. So make sure to go to patreon.com/CCNT, get access to the Discord channel, live streams, and extended reports. And thanks for listening to, go on out there, tell some friends, rattle some cages.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Call all that.
That's right. Tell your friends, send them this episode. People need to get on board with the Canary Cry News Talk. And thank you for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next week. But until then, think outside the cage.